Hi everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Futbol 360. I'm delighted to welcome John Coleman onto the show. John is currently Accrington Stanley manager. It's the club that his name is synonymous with. Over two spells spanning almost 20 years, he's taken them from the 7th tier of English football up to the 3rd tier of English football. And he's currently they are sat pretty in the promotion playoff spots alongside teams like Portsmouth, and Sunderland and other major names in the game in League One. So with the potential to go up to the Championship. It's been a fairy tale story, and John's a guy who is just absolute salt of the earth, the epitome of what I would call a football man. A great career as a non-league striker, scoring hatfuls of goals while smashing centre-halves around up in the northwest of England. And then has embarked on an incredible journey with his coaching staff that has seen them enjoy unbelievable success on incredibly limited resources. I know that their budget when they won League Two was kind of bottom 5. I know that their budget in League One is pretty much bottom, and yet they're currently sitting in the promotion spots. So I think that says all you need to know about the capabilities of the guy. This conversation is going to tell you more about the character, his method. There's an awful lot for coaches to pick out at John Coleman's brain. And I think fans of the game, players, everyone who loves football is going to enjoy this because, as I say, John is an incredible football guy. Knowledge that very few could compete with. Experience that very few could compete with, he's just a top man. I'm really going to enjoy this, and I'm pretty certain that everyone who watches or listens to this will do too. Enjoy. Welcome to Futbol 360. This week I'm delighted to have the Accrington Stanley manager John Coleman on with me. Really delighted to get a man of John's calibre and experience on the show. Welcome to the show, John.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, no problems. Thanks a lot. Right, we're going to get started with a warm-up, as we always do. So first off, who's your favourite player ever and why?
Well, it changes from time to time, and it changes through your life. When I was a kid, Gerd Muller was my favourite because I just idolised the way he scored goals. And I had children very young, and my firstborn was a girl, Leanne, and if she'd have been a boy, she'd have been called Gerd.
Wow.
But no, I idolised him. I just think everything about him as a striker was what I wanted to be. And then as I've grown up watching football, Steven Gerrard's been my favourite. I think just the way he's played the game, the way he's played with many different teams, some good, some bad, but always won trophies with poor teams, I think, at times. When went from playing with fashionable players to unfashionable players, and it didn't alter this performance. And to score in the FA Cup final, European Cup final, UEFA Cup final, League Cup final, just the icing on the cake was obviously the League Championship that he just missed out on. But as a player, I think he had everything. And I think everyone who young midfielders coming through should aspire to be like him, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. I think it's funny actually because we've had a few people on here, and I think you're the first one to mention Gerrard. But I think everyone in the game's got universal respect for him. Just unbelievable player, unbelievable character.
Yeah, I mean it helps for me because I'm a Liverpool fan. But, he's given me some unbelievable moments. But just a fantastic player. Yeah,
nice one. Okay. Your favourite team ever, not your favourite team as in Liverpool, but the favourite 11 players, a moment in time when you were captured by a team and thought, that's a hell of a team, and it stuck with you.
I love the Leeds team of the 70s.
Right.
You look at some of the clips now and they're a bit dated, but you see the playing on a cow field and the passing the ball around years ahead of the time.
Yeah.
One touch, two touch football. And growing up as a Liverpool fan, Leeds were the big rivals then. Leeds were the main rivals in the 70s.
Yeah.
And so it was quite taboo to like Leeds. And I remember my mum getting me a Leeds kit, the yellow one. When they were the first ones to have the flashy kits.
Wow.
The socks. And I still supported Liverpool, but I remember crying when Leeds got beat by Sunderland in the 73 Cup final. I've never been one of these people who shouts for the underdogs.
Yeah.
That's remarkable, really, considering Accrington are perennial underdogs. But I've always wanted the favourites to win. I always wanted West Germany to win. I loved West Germany.
Yeah.
Even most people in England didn't want them to do.
I wouldn't be having that. I wouldn't be having that. It's funny you mentioned Sunderland there in the '73 Cup final, because I was taught, but I grew up in Guernsey. I was from the northeast, but I moved over there as a kid, and I was taught by Richie Pitt, who was the centre half for Dave Watson that day. So he was one of probably the influences on me as a young player. Yeah,
I mean, Sunderland, they were a good team in their own right, but I mean, if you watch the game back, it should have been about 10-1 to Leeds. Leeds absolutely dying them.
Yeah, like the Alamo, yeah.
One of them games where the ball just wouldn't go in the net. And, Jim Montgomery with the famous save off Sever's head. But I just love the way they played, the Leeds players. It's funny, I can name the whole team. It was David Harvey, Gary Sprake, you had Reaney, Ray, Terry Cooper, take one of them as your fullbacks. Jack Charlton, Norman Hunter, Johnny Giles, Billy Bremner, Peter Lorimer, Eddie Gray, Alan Clark and Mick Jones. And, they all enthralled me. I loved Alan Clark. I loved, the way he just poached goals.
Sniffer.
Yeah, Sniffer Clark. And
in
a human way, he celebrated, as if to say, well, I knew I was going to score. And, I tried to carry that bit of arrogance with me into non-league football. I was a goal scorer, and I used to expect to score every time I played.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, again, that's a different answer, but I mean, I remember seeing footage. I mean, look, Dirty Leeds and the Norman, the images of Norman Hunter and Billy Bremner putting up people.
That's what made them so good. They could mix it up. And they were very physical. If you watch the 1970
Chelsea.
Sorry, the 70 game was an absolute war of attrition against Chelsea. But if you watch I think it was the 74 Charity Shield, where Keegan and Bremner got sent off.
Oh, yeah.
And that was absolutely off the scale.
Yeah.
Physicality.
Yeah.
But I thought that's what made them special, because people just saw them as dirty Leeds, but they could play.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, no. I mean, the bits of footage I've seen when they might have been 4 or 5-0 up or 3-0 up or whatever it was, and they were knocking the ball around for fun, and possession football before possession football was really a thing. Clearly they do it both ways. Okay. Another question on football. So you're a chairman, and you've got one game left ever, and you've got 2 teams picking the best players in the world. You have to choose a manager to get you a result in that one game over 90 minutes. We're not talking about someone who's developing a team over a period of time. For one game, he's got his pick of players, he's got his pick of how to do it. Who's going to get you that result?
I'd like to say myself, to be honest, but if I had to go with one that had to get me the result, I'd probably say Ancelotti.
Ancelotti?
Yeah, because I think he's just capable of coming in and getting a result no matter what.
Love it, yeah.
There's lots of English managers who do it well, the likes of Big Sam Allardyce does it well, Neil Warnock does it well.
Yeah.
But he can just set a team up and get a result.
Yeah.
And, Big Sam showed that against Liverpool the other day.
Yeah, definitely.
I just think Ancelotti, because he's very calm, very unassuming, but knows the game inside out, and he's done a wonderful job of it so far already.
Yeah, no, he's an impressive manager and a different style to a lot of traditional managers in terms of he's not the alpha male, is he? But he's I know his book about quiet leadership, and he just impresses me wherever he goes. He's just one of them who has a presence, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Right. Final question on the normal warm up. Give us a little known fact about John Coleman that not many people know. Only those in your inner circle might know.
I was ball boy when Kenny Dalglish made his debut at Wembley.
Class.
But I played for Kirby Boys at the time, and obviously from Merseyside Kirby. And Trafford Boys from Manchester, we were both selected to provide the ball boys, so all our names went in the hat. And mine got picked out, fortunately. And the irony is that we had a lad with us that in that team who didn't get picked out, Tommy Caton, and he went on to play for about 6 or 7 years later for Man City.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I sat next to him all through school.
Wow.
And you know, sadly he's no longer with us.
Yeah, it's sad news. Yeah, it's sad.
But you know, that was something I was delighted with. You know, that to go to Wembley and watch Kenny make his debut. And ironically, my hero that day wasn't Kenny because he'd only just arrived, so we didn't know about him. But I was enthralled with Gordon Hill from Manchester United. Player.
He was a winger. He was a winger, wasn't he, Gordon Hill?
He scored 2 in the semi-final when he won the FA Cup. Scored 2. I think he scored a free kick, but scored 2 from outside the box.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really a skillful player, I couldn't really dribble past people. I just loved watching players who could take people on.
Right.
And I still love that now, watching my own players do that.
Brilliant. I think you win the prize. That's the best answer I've had on this one so far. Right, let's get on to. There's a question from Eamon Elliott, and he says, "Do you remember the phone call you took at Whitley Bay, the second last game of the season?" Yeah,
and do you know what? It spurred us on. It spurred me on. You know, it didn't spur that team on because we unfortunately got the sack. But I took it in the humour that it was intended, but I hope it was intended with humour. But we'd pushed all the way for the league that year. You know, I took over at Aston United. Myself and Jimmy Bell. Jimmy Bell was a player there at the time.
And
he still is my best mate.
Yeah.
And he more or less coached me into applying for the job.
Okay.
And so I got the job. And first year, you know, we were in the doldrums and we had a great run. We got to 8th in the league. We got to the quarter-final of the trophy, FA Trophy. And then the following year...
Quarter-final of the trophy?
Yeah, we got to the quarter-final of the trophy that year.
As a Unibond 1 side?
Unibond 1 team. We got beat by tagging them at Redbridge last minute. And we missed a pen in the game as well.
I mean, in them days, the trophy was...
It was massive. Yeah.
That was massive, wasn't it?
And, you know, my first game in charge, actually, we beat Burton Albion in the trophy, which was remarkable because that was like the Leeds Sunderland game, only in reverse. They battered us and we won 1-0. So the following year, we were pushing for promotion, and we couldn't quite make it, and we got the record number of points for anybody who'd not got promoted out of the Unibond 1.
Yeah,
like 86 points, and we played Whitley Bay last game, or second to last game of the season, and we had to get something out the game.
Yeah,
when really, because the Workshop got the same or better than us. They went up. Anyway, it wasn't a big. Workshop won, and we drew. And we're sitting in the bar having a drink after the game, and there was no mobiles then. Oh, well, there was mobiles, but they were very in the infancy. And I get a call, or the Whitley Bay bar people took a call. They said, "Are John Coleman in here?" And I went, "Yeah." And so I answered the phone. They said, "Hello, this is the Workshop Town Supporters Club." And then they all proceeded to start singing, going up and all that. So it was great. It was good banter, I thought. And
yeah, you took it well, but it spurred you on, obviously. And to be fair, you haven't done bad since, have you?
It is, and you know, it makes you realise how much football means to not just take away the Premiership, and you know, most people will support a Premiership side of some description.
Yeah.
But passionate people are right down the leagues, and I was obsessed with football. I was obsessed with non-league football. Non-league football was my life, and I played all my time in there. I had some cracking times, met some great people. Eamon, one of them, to be fair. Still good friends today. But the passion that I had, I love to see that in other people. So, you know, when I seen all their fans celebrating, great.
Brilliant. That's I mean, I think the only thing I'd say is Workshop haven't managed to go any higher, and probably have struggled. You know, they've gone out of business a couple of times in my experience, to my knowledge, and you've gone the other way. So maybe it turns around the other way.
I did have a couple of board runnings with them.
Sorry.
I did have a couple of more run-ins with Workshop over the years. I remember they knocked out the trophy, funny enough. The year we won the conference, they beat us on pens.
Yeah.
In about the last 16.
They had a good team. I mean, the second game I played at that level in Unibond Prem, I played against them. They had Kenny Clark up top.
Kenny Clark, great player.
Stafford up top as well. Townsend. There's John Kennedy in goal.
Well, in the end.
I know, yeah. He's a great goalkeeper. Yeah, class. Okay, great days.
One of my strangest moments at Accrington, John Kennedy, because he'd come in and we had a goalkeeper called Jamie Spear.
Yeah.
Well, I infamously took him off to replace him with John Kennedy in the cup replay against Bournemouth when we won on pens.
Yeah.
So JMO was a big great mate of mine, JMO, but he was a big fans' favourite at the club, and I'd replaced him with John Kennedy, and the fans weren't happy about it because he was their hero. And anyway, he'd done really well, John, and then we got his agent in and we signed him on a long-term contract, give him a good deal. And we played Telford that day, and he's had an absolute nightmare. He's done 3 air shots, 2 of them have led to goals.
Yeah.
Martin kicked the ball and missed it. And this woman ran up to me and slaughtered me from one of the fans. And I said, why are you having a go at me? So she got, you should be playing Jamie Spear and all that, blah, blah, blah. And she was screaming at me. And I said, how much have you paid to get in? And she went, me and my husband have paid a tenner each. So I took £20 in my pocket. I give it to her and I said, yeah. I said, get lost.
Fair play.
She took the £20, and then I got absolutely hammered the next week in the press and by all the supporters.
Yeah.
But it was one of them things. It just mounted up on me. And, if I had the chance again now, I would have done it. And I'd kept £20 in my pocket as well, to be fair.
Fair play. Well, listen, you've led me nicely into that the next topic. So let's talk a little bit about money. I'm going to come at it from a slightly different angle to maybe some of the questions you field on a weekly basis about how you manage to work on a shoestring. And I'm gonna say, and I've responded to your chairman a couple of times on Twitter on this as well. But Accrington Stanley weren't always the paupers, weren't always the ones with the empty pot. And when I used to play against you, you had a really good side, but you had a budget. Now, my question is, and because I often think that managers are either good with a budget or good without a budget, but not necessarily can do both. So what were the different challenges that you faced then compared to what you've had since?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. We had the year we won the Unibond First Division. We were 17th in the league at Christmas.
Right.
And the biggest budget in the league. Obviously, it's going to take a toll on you. You should be doing miles better than 17th. Luckily, the chairman stayed with us, and then we were unbeaten until the end of the season and won the league.
Yeah.
So we had comfortably the biggest budget in the Unibond First. I think we bought 20 as well.
So say that again. Sorry,
We bought Gary Williams from Morecambe for 20 grand.
Yeah.
He signed Mark Shirley from Morecambe also.
Yeah.
Finally. So, big characters, big players. We signed Stuart Diggle from Lancaster. At the time, we had the leading goal scorer in the league, Billy O'Callaghan, who got relegated with Accrington this season, but he was still with us.
Yeah.
And, we brought then a lot of the Ashton team that I had when I got the sack. We ultimately went up and won the league. And then going into the Unibond Prem, we still had a budget that was competitive, very competitive. And we did pay money for Paul Mullen and Simon Carr.
Yeah.
It wasn't the biggest in that league then. In the Unibond Prem, we still had the likes of Alty, whose budget would have been bigger than ours, and a few other teams who were always having a go at it. I think Gainsborough had a go one year, but he spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the challenges are, they're pretty much the same really, because the pressure mounts either one way or the other. The pressure mounts from the top coming down that you should be doing better.
Yeah.
Mounts from the fans that they want to eke every last drop out of you.
Yeah.
I'd sooner have the pressure of having a big budget and trying to sign the better players and know that I can coach them and get my coaches, who are very good coaches, Jimmy Bell and John Doolan, to improve further. So I think although it can carry its own problems, I'd still sooner have more money than less money, because I think you can cope better because you can get better players in who are already proven at the level that they perform for you, but they're proven at that level. But you can also improve your infrastructure at your club, so you can have better facilities, and I think that is and that's the one thing that's really been the most to compete against for me with having a low budget is the lack of facilities. And you know, people say we do well on it, or start to do well on it. I've been used to that. That's not the thing that is remarkable about, in my opinion, what we do as a club. It's the ability to do it with very, very minimal facilities. You know, we're a League One team now. It was still, you know, we have got a new training ground in place now, but the pitch hasn't, for one reason or another. There was massive floods. In August and September, so we couldn't get that pitch right. So we are still training on plastic. Now, you know, you don't play on plastic, so to be able to motivate your staff, your players, to keep doing that week in, week out, that's the remarkable achievement. Obviously, we'd like to sign better players, but the salary cap coming in now will possibly take this budget issue out the equation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I'm with you on, you know, when you're trying to sign players at any level, if you haven't got the training facilities, if you haven't got, you know, medical support, you haven't got that it's like creating, you know, people talk about creating the environment, but you're going to have something special in your management skills, aren't you, to make up for it? And clearly you've done that and compensated for that over the years, but it's a big challenge.
Well, yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, we are going in the right direction. You know, we have got now this training facility that will be ideal for what our coaches are. It's just a case of that's going to take longer than what we anticipated. But, you know, everyone would like to eat together before and after training. That's not an issue for us at the moment. And, you know, with the COVID, no one can do that. So, but, you know, we're trying to put things in place that we can grow as a club. One thing that's been brilliant about our chairman is that, you know, he's improved the infrastructure of the club no end. You know, he's built a new stand on the far side. He spent a lot of money on the pitch. He's done well with the club. He's, you know, expanding the club, the actual clubhouse facilities, office facilities. And I think that's important because when we had the initial success in the Unibond days and getting into the conference, then no one expected us to win the conference. We were relegation fodder. And I think the team on the football side of it, on the pitch, progressed far too quickly for the club. And so the infrastructure lagged behind. Andy Holt now, the chairman, has been with us 4 or 5 years. He's started to redress that balance, and that was much needed because we were a League Two club with Conference North facilities, and that you know, we had to improve that, and we have improved. Well,
and I mean, look, you know, we're talking now in the position you are in League One. I mean, I'm sure I doubt you're pinching yourself because you're in it and you're doing the job, and you're probably going through the same process you've gone through for goodness knows how many years. But everyone involved with the club, or who's observing like I am, and every now and then I'll drop in the name Accrington Stanley when people say, well, what the sort of teams you played against? Because the higher you go, the more I drop your name in. So I'm hoping you get promoted for that. But I mean, I'm out there in Spain, and it's weird because over here you've got clubs like Eibar in La Liga, and their stadium holds about 5,500. So a million miles away from your ground, and yet they're playing against Barcelona and Real Madrid. So I see examples where small clubs can get up there and compete. I mean, it seems like a massive jump for you to get into the Championship, but there's reference points over here that would suggest you can maybe go even further. But I don't know, what do you think about that?
Well, funny enough, I was in Spain just as the lockdown, well, the travel bans were in place at the time, and we were fortunate enough to get away to the Estepona for a week. I think it was probably about June, July time. And there was a team over there team from Ibiza. I can't remember the name of the team. You might know more than me. And they were in the playoffs. The playoffs are quite complicated over there now, aren't they?
Very complicated, yeah.
So they were playing a game. I think
they'll be coming out of Segunda B, the third tier, into the second tier, I think.
Yeah. So they were playing in the playoffs and they were staying in our hotel.
Yeah.
And I had a little bit of a chat with one of the coaches, and I couldn't believe how much staff they had.
Yeah.
And it was coming out their ears, and they were like a third division Spanish team.
Yeah.
Who you would think would pale in significance to League One, and they had staff coming out their ears. They had more at one stage, I thought.
They do, but there's a little bit less money. So I mean, there's.
Said that the wage bill isn't massive.
No.
I said, would you not be better off having a bigger wage bill and less staff?
Yeah. No, it's well. Look, I coach the under-16s, or one of the under-16s teams, and we've got four of us, including a video guy. So but I think over here, football is absolutely king, like it used to be for us 30 years ago. So everyone wants to be involved in football in some way, shape or form. So the amount of people you get around the club in terms of volunteers, coaches, staff who be in and about the place, even if they're not necessarily delivering on the training ground or leading it, it's kind of like a badge of honour to be involved in a football club. And so you get more bang for your buck.
He was telling me that a lot of them were employed, and that really surprised me. I mean, as a ourselves, we've got to use Wickham as our benchmark.
Yeah.
We finished above Wickham, Luton, and who's the other? Not Rotherham. Wickham and Coventry. Yeah. So the league, we finished when we were on League Two a couple of years ago. We finished above them and comfortably above them, to be fair. Now all them are in the Championship, so that should for us. And then we look at Wickham last year in League One, and we played Wickham once last year. We drew 1-1. They scored a 94th minute penalty to equalise at their place. We more than held our own with them then. So, they've done an unbelievable job. Gareth Ainsworth's been a fantastic job, and really having a go in the Championship as well. So, from that point of view, we've got to say, well, if they can do it, why can't we do it?
Yeah.
And I think with the lack of crowds. So, for example, when we beat Charlton the other night, they'd normally be 15,000, 20,000 there.
Yeah, the Valley, yeah.
Valley, and that wasn't the case. So, whatever you say, it does help them. It might get you, referees are only human, and it might get you the seed that's out, and the referees might go your way with 15,000, 20,000 people shouting for it.
Yeah.
But what we've got this year in League One is quite a strong league, but no standout teams one way or the other. So there's no actual really top sides and no sides. Yeah. So anyone can do anything in this league this year, and it's just the ones who have a little bit of luck and get a little bit of consistency into their game can step up.
And my guess is you and the players have all probably learnt lessons, having spent a bit more time in League One and become established, because the first time you play in a league, you're going in, you're not going in blind because of the amount of research and opportunities there are for that these days, but being in it, my assumption is you're going to learn more about it.
Well, once you start playing in it, I mean, you can watch videos till they come out your ears, and a lot, and that's one of the things we do. We do study the opposition a lot.
I bet.
We're always looking to get that little minimum gains, and we're looking at ways that we can exploit their weaknesses and maybe worry about their strengths as well. But the one thing I wasn't prepared for was how physical League One was compared to League Two. All the players looked a little bit stronger, a little bit fitter. Yeah. And then when I look at Championship clubs, they go up another level as well. So that's something we've always prided ourselves on, being very fit. But I'd be lying if I didn't say I did make a conscious effort to sign physically stronger players this season.
Okay, so and what about the style of football? I mean, it brings us nicely onto it, but to differentiate yourselves, I mean, I remember you being quite direct, like most teams were. You had Mullen up top, and he was brilliant at holding the ball up, a big physical boy. You had footballers in there as well, don't get me wrong. You had players at the back like Robbie Williams who could play out, and who could defend and play out. But the way, I've not seen all of your football since then, but I've seen at times when you have played, you've knocked it about and maybe played even more football to compete at a higher level, rather than battening down the hatches and trying to compete on marginal gains and more direct football. It looks to me like your playing style evolved into something that was even more ball focused and more kind of circulation of the ball. Are you still doing that, or how do you differentiate against teams with more money, bigger, stronger athletes? How do you do it?
You always try to evolve, and sometimes it's horses for courses. There has been times when we've had to sit our lads down and say, listen, we can't play total football all the while. You've got to realise there's a time you've got to put your foot through it, and even the top do it when they have to. And the ball from a right back or a centre half curls over the opposition full back for a striker to run in will never go out of fashion.
Yeah.
You see Liverpool score numerous goals with that ball, and that'll never go out of fashion. But that doesn't mean that you just become predictable and you play that all the while. Now, you have two ends of the scale there. You look at Wickham and Crewe, not Wickham, and you look at MK Dons and Crewe.
Yeah.
Play our league. Probably, if you ask a proportion of the managers, they'd say they overplay, and that it can be to the detriment sometimes. But fair play to the managers; they both stick by the principles, and they believe that will be the way forward in the future.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to have some kind of a balance. And the thing is that players of lesser quality, and don't get me wrong, we've got some terrific players, and there's some terrific players in League One. But Premiership players tend to absorb information quicker and make decisions quicker.
Yeah.
Quicker. That's what makes them better players. Now, League One and League Two players, if you say, listen, sometimes you've got to put your foot through it, they had to go one way or the other. They had to go all long all the while.
Yeah.
Or if you ask them to play, they play short all the while.
Overplay, yeah. Really,
they don't really know when it's time and play. Thankfully, this year we've started to understand it a little bit better, and I put that down to that I have got some really good coaches, Jimmy Bell and John Toon. But we've evolved our style of play over the years, and probably one of the turning points. I went to the World Cup in South Africa. I went to the semi-final and the final when Spain won it.
Yeah.
Sitting high up in the stands, and you can see the patterns of play a lot better. And I was enthralled with the 4-2-3-1 system that Spain were playing. At times, they didn't really have a centre forward; they just all rotated, and they were brilliant at it. And it was really good to watch. And I came home and I said to Jimmy Bell, my assistant, I said, listen, we should have a go at this. I said, I know we won't be as good as them, but the principles should be the same. And if we can get three good players, attacking midfielders who can rotate, it'll be very difficult to pick up. So anyhow, we tried it in the summer, and it was a long process, but we stuck at it. And round about the Christmas period, any up with us, we had Jimmy Ryan, Sean McConville, Ian Craney came in for a bit and did well in there as well. But we had footballers who could rotate there. We had Terry Gornell as our target man.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't scoring enough. The other three were outshining him in the goals, but he was doing a great work for the team. And slowly but surely, it started to. We had something like 6 or 7 games at home where we were 3-0 up at half time each game. And I remember playing against Burton Albion, and was later on, and he said we'd done a lot of work against you, management. He said we'd done a lot of work against them. We still couldn't stop the way you played, and that took us into the playoffs. We ended up getting into the playoffs that year. We were on a great run. I mean, we ended up losing to Stevenage over 2 legs.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate part for that was we went into that playoff semi-final. And we had 11 players playing, and 9 had already agreed to sign for other clubs. So I think they had motivation, and one of them had actually, which didn't bode well with us.
No, that's the killer, that, isn't it? Was this in the conference or League Two? Sorry, it was a conference.
No, this was in League Two.
Right.
So, you know, we stuck at that system and played really well. As I said, got there and lost 9 players. And then I wanted to play the same system the following year, and I just couldn't get the players to play.
Yeah.
So I signed players and I tried to play, and it didn't work. So I had to adapt. And that year I went to a 4-3-3, which I don't really like. And then we've maintained them. We won League Two playing a 4-4-1-1, but very much trying to play through the lines.
Yeah.
But we had Billy Key up top then, so we could go long when we wanted, and he'd knock a few people around.
Yeah.
And we had Josh Windass running onto things. And in the early years, and then when we actually won the league, we had Caden Jackson, who had blind and pace.
Yeah.
Could get lines. So that allowed us to play. We had 2 really good wingers in Sean McConville and Jordan Clark.
Yeah.
Who were fantastic players in their own right going forward, but did unbelievably well defensively.
Yeah.
And that platform to play through the lines. And, you know, we really enjoyed the way that played. And then you keep trying to replicate that. We lost Jordan Clark last year, and then you have to change the way you're going to play.
Yeah.
And this year I thought if I was going to go a little bit bigger with my signings and a little bit stronger, I thought 3 at the back might be beneficial to us. Mark Hughes has been an absolute unbelievable pro for us. He's been outstanding, and he's getting better with age, like an old wine. And
Yeah.
he hasn't got a lot of pace, but he can organise. And the 3 at the back has really served us well this year. More stable, and we've still been able to play more attacking football with 2 attacking wing backs and 3 attacking midfielders.
And the three centre backs, because you'll have to excuse my lack of knowledge on it, but I've not seen you play enough. But is your 3 centre halves comfortable on the ball?
Yeah, they all are. You know, we've got Cameron Burgess from Scunthorpe. We've got Ross Sykes, who's come through our academy, and I'll be amazed if he doesn't go for big money soon.
Right.
At the moment. And then we brought Michael Nottingham in from Blackpool, and he handles the ball really well.
Yeah.
It's been 3 out of them 4 with Mark Hughes in there. They've been comfortable on the ball. We've got, you know, a holding midfielder in James Keneally, who's been with us 5 years, who handles the ball really well. We brought him back from Sligo.
Yeah.
And then we've got attacking midfielders all over the place with Matt Butcher, John Russell on loan from Chelsea, Sean McConville playing in there. We just took Gary Roberts on a short-term deal to the end of the season, who's had great success in League One with Portsmouth.
Yeah. Top player, intelligent footballer, isn't he?
We've got players who can handle the ball now, and we've also got, you know, lively forwards, and you just got to get that balance right. I still believe in trying to play through the thirds. You know, I used to have a little thing with, and I spoke to Seamus Keneally about this, my captain, who came with us from Sligo. When we managed the Sligo, we used to do a lot of work on shape and pattern of play.
Yeah.
If we get a goal kick and we can, from that goal kick, we can have comfortable possession on the halfway line, it's been a success. And that's always something that's really stuck with us. We started to do that. So we recognise that sometimes, and a lot of the time, you have to go along with your goal kicks. But if you can play it out, don't play it out and keep it round the back for ages till you lose it.
Yeah.
Play desire that you want to get forward, and you want to have possession on the halfway line going into their half to try and attack. And that's been one of our mantras that stuck with us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, what you've just said in the last 5 minutes there, the evolution of the teams that you've managed has covered most of the commonly used systems in the game. You know, you talk 4-3-3 even though you don't like it. You've talked 3 at the back and 5-2. You've talked about, you know, the rotation of 4-2-3-1 and getting those three or 4 of them rotating. I mean, you've covered nearly everything there. So I guess I don't think there's any point in me asking you, you know, is there one particular system that you prefer and you like to use commonly? Because clearly you're adaptive just as you progress through the leagues and progress with different personnel.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that people get het up sometimes on systems.
Yeah.
Players, you can play any system you want.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Players on the pitch, their ability on the pitch will overcome any system.
Yeah.
And desire will overcome a lot of systems. Sometimes you played against, you'll have done this in the past, where you've played against teams who've been right up for the game. And you're looking around thinking, if these got 13,
yeah,
they've got the same player who's playing right back is playing right wing. Same centre half is playing centre mid. Same player who's playing centre mid seems to be playing centre forward.
Yeah.
But that, sometimes it's special, and it's very play against them. I always say to our lads, don't get het up and don't let a system beat you. If you get by a system, that's a flaw in our mental state. And we do prepare to overcome different systems, and we are keen to identify what systems we're going to play against. But when all said and done, if you're 11 are better than them, and you all win your individual battles. I mean, we did equate it last year, and we haven't so much banged the drum on it this year, but we tried to say, listen, take it like a Ryder Cup game. So if you take it like the Ryder Cup and play in pairs.
Yeah.
So if you take it that it's a 5-pair game, so your right back and your right winger is a pair.
Yeah.
Your centre halves are a pair. Your left back and your left winger is a pair. Your centre mid's a pair and your 2 strikers are a pair. If you win 3 points in the Ryder Cup, so 3 years win your battle, you're halfway there. If 4 years win the battle, you've got a great chance of winning.
Yeah.
If 5 of your pairs win them battles, you're winning most games you play.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, that's a brilliant analogy. And as a centre half, I really struggle with the way that defenders apply themselves in the game to stopping goals, to keeping clean sheets, to blocking, to defend in the penalty box, really. And I hear a lot of people say, well, Harry Maguire's not a good player. And I hear a lot of people say, John Stones isn't a good player. And I hear a lot of people say, such and such isn't a good player. I think centre halves and defenders in general are getting hung out to dry by constant rotation in the modern game and a lack of unit-based understanding and those partnerships. And if there's a more important partnership on the pitch than the 2 centre halves, or 3 if you're playing 3, I don't know what it is, because that is, I'm not saying it just because I played there and just because I identify with it, but that is the heart of the pitch, because not only is it responsible for stopping the opponent scoring, but now generally for most teams it's the point at which you've got to understand how to play out and the patterns that you want to use to get out. So I loved it. That's the first time I've ever heard that Ryder Cup analogy. I'm going to use it from now on, and I love to hear that. I think it's a brilliant way of approaching it.
I mean, the thing with centre halves is it's probably the most important situation of distance control, distance between each other. And I think you can possibly get away with your 2 forwards being too far apart or too close. You can probably get away with your midfielders and your wingers to a certain extent with your fullbacks. But the distances, you have the old rope analogy, don't you, where the right back pulls the centre half over, the other centre, the left back comes over. But them actual distances, and I've always tried to base it on around about 12 yards. If you're getting any more than 12 yards gaps in between your defenders, someone's going to exploit it.
Yeah.
And, I'm a little bit like yourself, as I want defenders to defend. I want people to throw themselves into things. I want them to block. I want them to win headers.
Yeah.
I love centre halves who lead and kick it in. I've played attacking football in every team I've managed, but I'd still love to play 4 centre halves in my back 4. 4 big centre halves, just defend.
Well, your man Ancelotti's done it recently, hasn't he?
Yeah, but I have done it in the past, and unashamedly, I will do that, and I'm sure I'll continue to do it in the future.
Yeah.
I think what you've got to realise is that players are coming through academies now, and it's all based on this total football model. And I think people aren't being taught the basics of defending. I think people aren't being instilled with the drive of how important it is not to concede. Not only not to concede a goal, but not to concede a chance, to not let that shot go on your target, to stop the cross. Because there's less and less crossing going on in the game now, because You know, teams play total possession football. They check back, they come, they go down the other side, they go back to the centre half, they go out to the fullback goes to the winger probes a little bit. Doesn't really want, he's only got one in, so he comes back out and comes out the other side. And so the art of stopping a cross is virtually going out the game.
Yeah.
The amount of goals that he scored from crosses is frightening. And, you know, it's something that we try to hammer into our play. Stop the cross, stop at the source. You know, you can stop your centre half having to deal with anything just by stopping the cross. I think it's interesting that you say about Harry Maguire and John Stones. I think if you combine the two of them together, you'd have the perfect centre half, wouldn't you?
Wouldn't you just, yeah.
You know, I don't think there's enough attention played to the art of stopping people. Everything seems to be now about playing, and all the modules coming through the youth is all about how we. I mean, I know they interchange the roles, and I quite like that idea. I quite like that model of people understanding each other's roles and playing.
Totally. For young players, totally agree.
I like that, but I think the module of stopping people, of defending with a heart and a passion, I think that must have got lost in some of the paperwork, because I don't see it coming through the academies. I go to watch 23 football because I have to shop in them areas. I have to sign players on loan. And I'll go and watch a keeper and I'll go and watch a centre half. The keeper never catches it and the centre half never heads it because they haven't got to. And so what you've got, and listen, let's get it straight. Premiership football and League One and League Two and going down into the conference, it's a different sport. You know, you don't get the time in midfield that they get in midfield. You don't get the time on the ball at the back that they get in the Premiership.
Yeah.
Different sports. So now you're teaching players. You're bringing players to professional academies. Don't forget they've got the pick now with this EPPP, where they can take our best players for peanuts.
Or whatever, yeah.
So they teach them to play a sport that 99.9% of them aren't going to play. They're teaching them to play a game that they're not going to play because they're not. Very, very few of them are going to make the grade into the Premiership. So then they have to apply the trade at our level, and then we have to reteach them. We have to re-educate them. So it's in essence, it's like serving your time as an electrician and then trying to go and get a job as a plumber.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I couldn't agree more. I mean, a couple of things. You said before about a ball being played, you know, like an in-swinging ball almost off the fullback over the other fullback, you know, in the channel for a forward, particularly when that fullback is pressing. So if you've gone short, you've got a bit of circulation, they start to press and get a bit organised defensively, nick another couple of yards, another couple of yards, and then all of a sudden you swing one in behind and you've got someone with pace up top. I mean, does that ever happen in academy football? Are midfielders or fullbacks or whoever ever aware of that element of surprise that slinging one in there brings you, the joy that you can bring? I
think it mainly happens by accident.
Yeah.
It mainly happens when a lad knows he's got no other alternative but to kick it away, and he's trying to clear the ball, and it just went to there. You know, you've got some, you know, pace is being developed in football over the years, and there's some players now who are absolutely blistered in pace, and then, you know, I had to give me right arm to have the pace that some of these young lads have got that I see coming through. But there's having pace and knowing how to use your pace.
Yeah.
And being given a platform to use your pace as well. So if you've got a really, really quick player who's got dramatic acceleration off the blocks, why are you asking him to come short all the while and present himself? You know, and I've had players who are really quick who just want to come and play, and I say, listen, no, do what you're good at. We had Andy Mangan in the conference, and I used to iron him every day. I say, listen, you're not a player. Don't try and be what you're not. And then you stretch them, which allows then the better players to play.
Exactly. I mean, the art of working across the line and then darting in between and in behind. How many times do you see runs like that? I mean, I'm talking about at all levels of football because it all filters down, right, doesn't it? If the ideals of, and obviously, you know, I think Pep's got a lot to answer for. I mean, he don't need to say sorry to anyone, but he's got a lot to answer for because the consequences of everyone trying to emulate what he started doing in 2008, 2009, I think has had an impact on English football, which is going to take years to repair, because everyone wants to be a 10, or everyone's got this number on their back and their identity. And like you say, most of them are coming this way, not running away from the ball. So it's, I mean, look, it's a bit of a generic statement, and I know that there's coaches out there and clubs who are addressing it individually. But as you say, the coaching curriculums all reflect, they don't reflect the type of qualities that you and I are talking about there. They don't.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, I love watching Man City played up. To be honest.
Yeah, no, me too.
I love the way they probe. I love the way the finding solutions to the way the game's gone. Because the game has gone a bit sterile, but I love the way they keep it round, and then they'll dart through, and Sterling will get round the back and fire one across, and they score. So I do love watching that.
Yeah.
You've got certain teams who'll try and play that way. Liverpool have got two. I love watching Liverpool at the moment, but they've got two extremes. When they keep the ball around the back and they're slow and ponderous, they don't look a good side. No. When they want to touch football around the box and people take chances and people take risks, they're a far better team, and they score great goals and they blow teams away.
Well, under Brendan Rodgers, I don't know if you remember that lunchtime kickoff when they were 4-0 up against Arsenal after about 25 minutes, but that was unbelievable, because it was an Arsenal team coming this way and a Liverpool team just literally 2-3 passes and bang, in it went, and it won possession. It wasn't patient. It was just bam, bam, bang, and that was incredible. I always remember that game.
They were breathtaking under Brendan Rodgers, and it's sad really, because he doesn't get the credit he deserves for that team, because he probably underachieved the following season, and that sort, he carries that stigma with him, which is wrong really, because he's been a good team since then as well.
Yeah,
but it's difficult to get players in the modern day now to take risks in the right places. And I mean, I watch Liverpool as a fan now, so far from me to criticise Jurgen Klopp, but because they have so much of the ball, I don't see the reason why they should have 60, 70 passes to take a chance on the edge of the box with a pass, when they could take it after 5, because they're going to get it back anyway in about 30 seconds, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Because, listen, I've always encouraged our players to try and take risks in the right areas, so when we get the ball into the final third, don't come back out.
Yeah.
Defender, you'll know as a defender, if the ball comes into the final third and you can make them play it back into their own half, you think, job, you're delighted.
Yeah. And you get a little bit more organised, a little bit more compact. It's that much easier to defend in the most dangerous areas.
Yeah, I bind our players up. I say, no, defenders were no good at school. They were last pick at school. Well, the goalkeeper was the last pick. I said all the top players were strikers, because I was a striker.
That's true. That's true.
I said, what all the prime real estate is. I said, we're now Westminster. The edge of the box is Westminster. I said, you go to the midfield and it's just all right areas. I said, you're getting the really rural places and the low value real estate back, because you score goals there. So I said, why come out the posh areas? Why come out the prime real estate areas, which is the final third?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think maybe if a team's really, really organised and there's no way you're going to find to sling a cross in. There's no way, I think sometimes to come out and restart again and go out and try and shift that block is a good thing. But I get what you're saying. I mean, I see too many times that what pisses me off, to be honest, is when wingers are 1v1, and because the defender has actually got the body shape right, has actually blocked off the area where they want to go and penetrate, they turn back in and they go back. I want to see a little bit of show, like you used to, maybe probably Gordon Hill, Steve Coppell, show them the ball a little bit, show them, and if they lose the ball there, I don't have a problem with that, because the next time they do it, the defender will be that much more confident that you might nick in and get through.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be prepared to lose the ball in them areas. And if you've got a fear of losing it, you won't take risks. One of the big things now is the way football's developed over the past 3 years. It's always developing now. And you just think, even in the last 3 years, I mean, I still think back maybe 5 or 6 years it's developed. But 3 years, maybe 2 years, the big change is counter-attacking football now. That's the thing. Everyone wants to suck you on and then hit you on the break. Now, I watch defenders in the Premier League, and they're not great. You know, the art of defending, I still think is gone because they all want to play football. So I think that's the area that you should exploit. And so even at the Premiership, when you know they've got everyone behind the ball and they've got the defence packed, if you still put the ball in the box and you get enough numbers in the box, the ball can and will break for you if you do enough. But teams are reluctant to do that because they're petrified of getting counted on.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm with you.
You've got to get that balance.
Yeah.
You've got to balance between committing 5 players into the box for the winger to cross it into and still having 4 enough that you can rely on that. Well, we can hold this counter up for a bit till the cavalry gets back. And I just don't think teams, particularly at the higher level, aren't prepared to do that. They're not prepared to take risk anymore. And risk taking in football now is very, very minimal now, I think.
I agree. I mean, the defensive units are so much better organised these days. I mean, did you talk to your midfielders? In fact, did you even talk to your centre halves that much about them? I mean, I remember, like Dunny, for example, Harry Dunn. He signed me and he said, I want you to head it and clear the ball in the channel and get out. And that's it. That was the starting point. He never coached me. He'd tell me what to do. Next time Nicky Peveril does this. Next time such and such does this, because he picked up things. His eye for detail was unbelievable, but he never coached me. Neither did Steve Richards. Neil Parsley did a little bit. Pars was a good coach, to be fair. But most of the coaches or the managers that I work with, no coaching. It was, you know how to do your job, go out and do it. If there's one specific situation that I want you to do it differently, I'll tell you exactly how to do it. I won't show you how to do it, and I won't coach you, and I won't develop the decision-making process that you need to go through to carry out that action. Just fucking do it, and that's what I got. And I don't know. I mean, my guess is you've got. I mean, how you work now with your players. You've got Jimmy. You've got John. Between the 3 of you, you've got plenty of time to do the video, to break it down after sessions, to break it down in training sessions, to break it down on the phone, on text messages, whatever. But back then we had an hour or two. You probably had an hour or two with your players as well back in those days. So you needed players who knew what to do. But the process of telling your midfielders, this is what your part is in the defensive block, and this is how high and this is the distance you need between your units. I don't think that ever used to happen for us, and I'll be surprised if it did for you.
Well, that was the big turning point with going from part time to full time. You had so much more time to work on the finer details. You know, I remember one session when we went full time, just working on the goalkeeper's position from a free kick.
Yeah,
I didn't have the time for that. You know, you're trying to cram fitness in, you're trying to cram shape in. We couldn't do a video analysis because we didn't have the facilities.
Yeah.
Up the opposition when we were non-league and part-time. But you're trying to cram so much into, you're playing most Tuesdays. You've got an hour and a half on a Thursday. A couple of lads might be working. I mean, we used to play our lads on a Thursday night, so more or less guaranteed that everyone was there. But, you didn't have the time to work on that. And as you say, you'd have to tell them, listen, this is the way I want to play, and this is the way I want you to play. Now, the higher up they go, it's imperative that they learn to think for themselves, because we can't give them all the answers. We can't give them a crib sheet that they can look off and say, do that at this situation. Football's really evolving now. And so, now as you get their opinion, you'd have to try and make their decision process better. They've got to see a reason why they're making that decision. I'm keen to ask, why did you do that? And there's no wrong or right answer here. Just tell me why you're thinking it, and then I'll tell you what I think. And then between us, we maybe get a process in place that thing happens, this is what you do. And do you agree that that's right? And if they take ownership of that, they want to do it more, they want to make it work.
Yeah.
So if they believe it's their idea or their idea in collaboration with you, they're going to want to try and make it better. Now, as you go back, when you were part-time, we didn't have that time. We didn't have that time to spend on them. And, you didn't have that time if you went on a bad run. So you had to get more or less bring defenders in. Defenders defend, midfielders create, strikers score. And that was the simplified version of coaching.
So you've just said I played for a side called Rowntree's in York for a while. There's a legendary manager called Jim Collis. He ran fish shops in York, and that was his team talk. He was famous for getting his team talks wrong and his words mixed up. So he'd say something like, "Bloody Kev Graham, he's always knocking them diangular balls," and he said, "Oh, there's been loads of shit this season, and that's all bridge under water," and he'd get stuff mixed up all the time. But his team talk, and he was one of them. He'd go around all the parks, pick players out. Real old school manager. He'd come and train with me, and I'll move you on. And I moved on to Whitby from there. But his team talk was always, "Listen, lads, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Defenders defend, midfielders create, attackers score goals. Get out there." And that was it. And he was a legend. And like you say, what you just said there, that's the essence of what they need to do still exists. Of course, there's loads more detail that you can add, and the more time you have to work with players, the more you can help them craft their trade, because that's what it is really. Like you say, it's about independent decision makers adding to their original skills.
But now there's got to be an interloping of it, because not so much the way the game's gone, but if you want to be successful, you look at the Liverpool teams of the 70s and 80s, and how hard they defended from the front. Ian Rush worked his socks off the time press, and you see a lot of this, or the gag press that people are very crop with, and people are very into this pressing.
Yeah.
I think we were doing it about 20 years ago, to be honest. But, you didn't get the credit for it then because it wasn't vogue. But, we expect forwards to defend and help out when they can. Our two wingers, when we won the league, they were unbelievable defenders. Sean McCall and Jordan Clark got back and helped out the fullbacks really well, which allowed us to expand and go and attack when we did. Without getting, you've got to rely on midfielders to score now. You've got to rely on defenders to score. So gone are the days where one striker got 30, one got 20, your wingers got 12 each. And he sends
it shared around.
It has to be shared around now.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know where your next goal is going to come from.
Yeah.
You've got to try and develop a team that want to attack together and defend together and create together. And so the more you work with them and the more you work, one of the things we do at Accrington, we've always had really intense pre-seasons. So we work really hard at pre-season. Sometimes push them a bit too hard. And that's what sometimes led to a couple of injuries that we could have avoided. But we do work really hard. And the lads will testify for that, the ones who are running up and down the sand dunes this summer. But then we taper our training then to the needs of playing games. So the physical demands in training becomes less and less as the season goes on. And more emphasis is placed on the technical and the tactical side. Not so much the technical, because you should have a lot of technical work in your.
I was going to say, I always say to people, for me, pre-season, and again, you're talking about a different level to what I operate in, but in a part-time game, pre-season, that 5-6 week block that you've got, that's when you get your patterns in, that's when you get your technical work in. I think pre-season is important for fitness, but to be honest, in a part-time game, players have got to take ownership of that themselves. I'm not there to get them fit. I will get them fit with what we do, but what I want them to understand is how we're going to play as a team come day one. And that's really important at that point.
You've got to get that in. Now, we do get that in pre-season, but we go heavily on the fitness. And then throughout the season, and we lower the physical demands, but then we do constantly reinforce, this is how we're going to play. This is how we're going to get. This is how we're going to beat this opposition. This is how we're going to beat that opposition. This is how we're going to defend against them. And the more they do it, the more the players, because they're all involved, so you can change your team and everyone knows the roles.
Yeah.
And you've got to keep reinforcing that, but you can't really tax them too much because the games will be taxing enough as they are. So you've got to get the balance right, and we believe we do it in a way that suits our purposes.
I'm not going to argue with you, pal. You aren't doing too bad, are you?
Well, sometimes players will complain that they're not playing enough football.
Yeah.
You can't get them to play, but they've got to be ready to play. I mean, you go back to the non-league days, and you'll know this yourself. The first 2 or 3 weeks of non-league, when I played when I was younger, you get a lot of the older fellas who come back dramatically out of shape. The first 3 weeks with them losing about £6.
Yeah.
And getting themselves to a position where they could now train. You know, now in this day and age, forget football, professionalism and all that. With the advent of social media and all that, all the young lads, they're vain now, aren't they?
Oh, so yeah, the gym life for them, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so the drinking culture is almost all but evaporating out the game.
Yeah.
You know, you still get the odd ones, I suppose. And sometimes it's good for team spirit and you can get. But that's all but evaporating now. So you haven't got that period of trying to get them into the weight shape and the physical shape, because they're already in physical shape. They're all ripped. They could all be swimwear models.
Yeah.
So it's now getting them football fit, getting them fit to play a game.
Yeah.
Now, as you say, they should take ownership of themselves. Well, they do. They do now. The hard part is keeping them fit to play a game of football, and that's
conditioned. Yeah.
Totally different. And that's constantly the battle, because I don't chop and change teams. I've never been a rotator. I've never believed in that. I never will be. I don't think, unless I get a job in the Premiership and then I'm forced to. But I've never believed in that. I don't really like making subs. I've never been one for the sake of it. So, you know, the year we won League Two, we had 12 games. I didn't make a sub for 11 of them. I didn't change the team for the 12 by one, and that was the goalkeeper who was in a car crash on the way to. So I don't like making changes. I don't like making subs. I will if I have to, and I will if I think it's necessary. But I can't stand watching substitutes made that weaken teams. Watch substitutes made to waste time that ends up adding on time that where teams can see it. It's just because they make a sub to try and run the clock down or try and stifle the game.
Yeah.
If your best teams work, and play to the end.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the only thing I'd say about that is, what about the stats on the physical side of things? Are you seeing players taper off after a certain time?
Well, that's one of the things that we do, an intense pre-season, so that they don't get into that situation.
Okay.
So I had a lad who played for me at Southport called John Dillon, who's an analyst now at Crewe, and Crewe play terrific football, by the way. You know,
yeah,
you keep the ball off you, like you feel
doing a good job, don't you? I'll tell you.
I'll Dave, yeah. And you feel as though sometimes you should throw another ball on for you. But we ended up beating them this year. I'd just done me press, and I was walking down to go into the manager's office, and John was waiting for me, and he said, you know, one thing I'm amazed about your teams, how fit they are, how they keep going right to the ends. You know, is there anything specific that you work on? I said, no, and that was pleasing to hear from an outsider, really.
Yeah, well, and a specialist in his field as well, obviously.
Yeah, and I said, no, but it's some of the things that we've prided ourselves on, and we believe we get it done by doing a really physical pre-season and then tapering our training to meet the needs of the game. So we never really overtax them now during the week.
Yeah.
Training. You know, we might overtax their minds a little bit. We take the information in. But I believe if you've got that firm foundation of a good, solid pre-season, it stands you in good stead.
Yeah. Okay.
Never go out of fashion in football.
No, exactly.
You can use all the modern technology that you've got, and I'm a firm believer in that. That use what's at your available. Don't say, "Oh, I'm old school." I don't believe in that word, old school.
Yeah.
To be honest, you know, you should always be developing. You should always try to learn. I think that the day that you think you know everything, you're going to fall flat in your face.
Love
always yourself. I'm always trying to learn new ways, trying to pinch ideas off other teams. I mean, a classic example of that is, you'll remember this team. You'll have played against this team loads of times. Emily.
Yeah. Ronnie Lavins.
You'd have played against. They went on to be Wakefield, didn't they? And
yeah. Big Paul David and Nicky Wood at the back, yeah.
Some good players. And we had some great battles with them. But they did this corner once, and they played it short. The lads, they played it to the edge of the box, middle of the edge of the box. So they have two men on the edge of the box. One ran and blocked the other midfielder's player. He ran to go and strike it, stepped over the ball. Lad came from round the back and shot.
Yeah.
Wow, what a corner that is. So I pinched it. And then we took it onto the Football League, and we had a spell where we scored about 9 goals from in one season.
Yeah.
And then everyone else started to pinch it. So Eddie Howe pinched it. And then all of a sudden it become, on Match of the Day, the Bournemouth corner.
Yeah. But it was done a long time now. I mean, I know other coaches who've done that with great success. It's a brilliant corner, yeah.
The Emily corner. It was Emily. It was they might have pinched it off somebody else.
Emily would definitely like if you're talking about Ronnie Glavin's team there. I can't recall a team doing it before that, and I've seen a lot do it since. So yeah, you might well be right there.
Off them, but it was great, because I still played Sunday football into my 40s, and then we played in the Veterans League as well. And how easy you got them things off, because they weren't tuned in.
They just couldn't stay with you, yeah.
Oh, you got them off to it, say. And we used to do it all the while. Everyone would be laughing because it was weird. So, but that's what I'm saying. You always got to try and use what's at your available. So if you've got an all singing and dancing fitness program that you can do, or a monitoring situation, or a tracking situation, use them to get every ounce that you can out of what you've got available. And that's the only way you can say, well, I've done my best. I've used every tool I've got in the box to try and get the best out of this team, to try and get the team to perform as best they can.
Yeah, and there's so much out there. I mean, the awareness, if some of these things you had to use 20 years ago, you'd have used them.
Of course,
just we didn't know about them.
The big plus for me, honestly, has been the advent of video.
Yeah,
you'll know this as a player. So, a corner comes in, you've got your man, you're tight enough to your man. The ball goes over your head, someone heads it in. So you walk off at half time or full time. Who had him?
Yeah,
and it wasn't me. And they could afford to do that because they weren't accountable, because no one could prove that was your man.
Yeah.
The minute you could watch videos,
you don't need to have the argument, do you? You just say, let's have a look at it when we get in. Yeah.
And that changed it. The advent of all our games being recorded changed more or less immediately accountability for defenders for me.
Yeah.
Well, for everyone really, but particularly for set plays.
Yeah.
And that was a big boost for me. And we used well after that, so.
Brilliant. Okay, so listen, we've been going for nearly an hour and a quarter, and as I always say this to everyone who's been on it, because I love talking football, but I say it because it's true. It's been unbelievable and it's flown by, and I'm sure we could carry on. But I'm going to finish on one topic, and that's young coaches coming through and the way that coaching's changed. Now you're a teacher by profession originally, is that right?
Yeah, I qualified to be a teacher. I only actually taught for a year, but I went through my 3-year degree.
Yeah.
So I did learn how to teach.
Yeah. And that's what I want to ask you about, really. So the process of how to teach, and I referred to it before with some of them gaffers that I had when I played, and over my conscious lifespan in football, I now see coaches and managers who emotionally have probably got similar intelligence, because that's always existed. There's always been people who can motivate people, who understand players, who understand what makes them tick. But how to break down that process and how to take them into the week and put something right that they saw on a Saturday, and the process of learning, which you picked up as a teacher. How do you see your coaching staff changing over the years and the way that they work? And have you had any young coaches come through in your career at any of the clubs that you've managed at that have really surprised you in terms of, might not have had the background in the game that you might have been concerned about their knowledge of the game, but they've come in with something new that's blown you away?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of facets to that. The one thing is that I think there's a big distinction between managing, coaching, leading.
Yeah.
Now, you know, they identify a common cause. They try and get everyone to rally around that cause, and then you drive them on. You know, would you class Jurgen Klopp as a leader or a manager?
Yeah.
You would say, although he gets lauded for his coaching ability, he certainly wouldn't class him as a coach, in my opinion, anyway.
No, same.
Yeah, you know, and someone who's driving a cause forward, and I think that they make the better ones. And if you can identify that cause, and then you can sell the cause to them, and that comes down to your personality and how you handle players. And I'd like to think that is one of my strengths, that is that I can get them to believe that what I'm doing, the way I'm doing it, is right. That my dream is their dream, and they want to have that as their dream, and they want to make that successful. Now, over the years, when we first started part-time, so as we were going back to before, you only had an hour and a half to coach on a Thursday. Maybe on a Tuesday we didn't have a midweek game.
Yeah.
Mainly you had to get a bit of fitness in. You had to get a bit of everything in, really. Bit of shape. So you had to get it all in a short space of time. Now, I took all the coaching. So initially, we on the pitch, I took all the coaching.
Did you ever consider yourself more of a coach than a manager?
I loved coaching, but I was a manager, but I loved coaching. So I took all the coaching, and Jimmy hardly took any. Jimmy might take the warm up and then little bits of things, but I took all the coaching. So all the technical work, not all the tactical work, all the ideas of coaching, all the methods we would do, all the phases of play, the little functions we were doing, was all what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And you take a little bit off your coaching badges, but you take that a little bit off other managers that you've played with or played under, and eliminate the things that you thought were bad, enhance the things that you're trying to make the things that you thought were good better. And over the years, that has turned full on its head. So over the years, I've watched Jimmy develop as a coach.
Yeah.
To be one of the top coaches in the country now, and he doesn't get the credit for it.
Right.
I did my pro license with, my A license, with John Doolan, who also played for me at Accrington and Ashton. And he's a good friend of mine anyway. He played with me from Kirby days. And I've seen him develop as a top coach. So I've seen the two of them now develop into such a stage now where I very rarely do any coaching now.
Yeah.
I watch every session. I pick bits out that I think we can improve on. When I step in now and again in the shape, it has a dramatic effect because I don't often go in.
Yeah, so it's an impact, yeah.
When I do speak to the players, they listen. Well, I'd like to think they listen because it's not a background noise anymore. But I've then watched Jimmy and John become two top coaches who don't get the credit they deserve. I see all, I've got nothing against foreign coaches, but I see a lot of foreign coaches getting a lot of credit they rightly deserve, but at the expense of English coaches getting them.
Yeah.
And I still bang the drum on John and Jimmy. Their understanding of the game, the way they can spot things that I haven't spotted in a game while the game's going on. I sometimes get out up in the emotion in the game.
Yeah.
You can break it down and not cold, but calm and calculated, and you can say, no, he's not there, he should have been there, he should have been there. And then when you watch it back on video, they're right. The way they try and identify patterns of play that we can play to overcome the opposition, the way they study the videos and then relate that video into training. And so it's been a really good blend, of me being able now to take a back seat.
Yeah, gradually, yeah.
Learn more about watching me players to actually have more of an insight into each individual player by not having to coach them as much now because I trust them really with my lives, John and Jimmy.
Yeah.
But being able to observe them actually absorbing that coaching, see what players are getting it, see what players aren't. So it makes my job a lot easier, but a lot more fulfilling. I still miss coaching.
Yeah.
But I do like the blend that we've got now where I can just step in now and again.
Well, it's the same as you. I mean, you said before about watching the World Cup games in South Africa from a higher vantage point, and you can see the patterns of play more clearly from up there. From my assumption is, and I've done it a little bit myself, as a manager, you need to sometimes come out of it, the training session, because when you're there and delivering 5 yards away from a player or dragging a centre half into here or whatever you're doing, a pattern or whatever, you're in there and you're living and breathing it. You're almost as involved as the players are. When you're out of it and you see the people who are paying attention, and you see the ones who are busting the bollocks to getting the team on a Saturday, and you see the ones who've got a deficiency with their first touch because it's always taking it a little bit too central instead of away from their body. You pick stuff up that guy who's delivering in the middle doesn't do. So I mean, we benefit from that a little bit here, as I say, because of the culture here of having quite a lot of staff, and we do get to see the players a little bit more than perhaps other coaches do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big pluses for me in the lockdown and the lack of fans. And don't get me wrong, I'm still desperate for fans to get back in because I think.
Well, we're all fans of the game, aren't we? First, before we were anything else.
But I've taken now to sitting in the stands for games.
Yeah,
it's quite high up now, and it does not give you a better picture of the game. And it's going to be difficult when fans come back to do that, because I don't really like sitting in amongst the fans, because I think then that can detract from your observation of the game.
Yeah.
The influence of it. But it's been really refreshing to be able to sit back, even at our home games. You know, we only sit about 8 or 9 seats back, but it's still a better advantage.
I was going to say, you need that promotion, pal, to add another tier onto a couple of the stands. You're not quite high enough yet, are you?
There was times when we were in the conference where I used to go up on the TV gantry.
Yeah.
I used to watch it from the TV gantry, and then I'd shout on, and then I got warned off. A linesman reported me for coaching outside the area. So, but that was good. I could see better patterns of play. But you're always trying to improve what you can deliver to the team, and what the rest of your staff can deliver to the team, and then what the team can deliver to you. And you know, a lot of the time it is a two-way process. You've got to get into the minds of people. You know, one of the big things for me as well is because I don't make a lot of changes. You've got a squad of 24 players. 11 are involved every week. Maybe 1 or 2 are getting on a sub. 12 feel like they're the spare part of the wedding, you know. So having to keep them on side and going around and chivvying them up and going having little chats to them while training's going on. And sometimes it might even be about football, but it just might be just to get them interested and know that you're still interested in them. And it's not an act, because I am still interested in them. I realise the importance, and I hammer this home week in, week out, of the importance of everyone being ready. And it's not just the players who are playing. Everyone's responsible for whatever results we get, because we all practice together. So you haven't played a part in the game. You've played a part in the practice that has helped us win that game. So we've all won that as a machine together. Now, I might go alongside one player and say, you know, I know he's into his cricket. England have just took another wicket there, blah, blah, blah. And just keep him, and then talking to him. And that sometimes it can get overlooked, the importance of the rest of the players who aren't playing, you know, and how important they are. And everyone in the club is doing a part to try and get the club where they are. The year we got promoted from League Two, I sat the players down and I said, listen, I believe we're going to get promoted this year. And we were favourites for relegation. I said, I believe we're capable. I said, we had a great run last season. I said, but everybody's going to pull in the right direction. I had the chief exec there. I had some of the office staff there. I had the kit man there, the physios. I said, I had some of the youth team players. I said, everyone will play its part and everyone should celebrate it. I said, be it being the kit being right, be it the youth team coming in and helping us with the shape by doing what the opposition do and us trying to replicate what they're doing and how we're going to combat it. From the chief exec getting it right for the paperwork, for everything. Everyone's got a little role that we all should be proud of when we get promoted. For us all. And it was great that we did go on and do it.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, there's a saying, 11 players might win your football match, but you're going to need your full squad of 18 or 24 to win your league.
Well, it's great to hear, you know, I did actually give the quote that President Kennedy did. You know, this was 3 or 4 years before he landed a man on the moon. And he went to the headquarters in NASA. So this would be about 63. Right. Well, no, earlier, because he died in 63, didn't he? So it would be 5 years, 6 years. And he went to NASA. And he was going around, like, you know, it was a visit.
Yeah.
And he come across a janitor, and he said to the janitor, what do you do? He said, I'm helping putting a man on the moon. And that did not strike home for me.
Yeah.
Plays the part. And, you know, that janitor has helped to put him on the map.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant story. I think I have heard it before, but not for a long time. John, like I said, we're knocking on for an hour and a half, pal. I loved that. Really enjoyed talking football with you. The people who will watch this, like I say, there'll be a lot of coaches who watch this will love some of the things that, like I say, the Ryder Cup things really stands out for me. The pairings, I absolutely love that, but there's so much more to pick out of it. I'd structured a few questions, obviously, and we've covered every one of them throughout this process. So, you know, your game style, your style of football and the way that's evolved, the way the game's evolved, the way coaching's evolved, you know, the money side of things, the part-time, full-time stuff. I didn't actually have to ask the questions. It just came out in the conversation, which is probably the best way. So, all that's left for me to say is, I hope you keep getting promoted so I can keep saying that, you know, I played some of my career against the Premier League team. And I'm blown away like most people are. You know, I know my assumption is that you started playing football in Kirkby just the same as everyone else, and maybe you never expected to get anywhere near where you are right now, going to places like Sunderland and getting results and potentially, you know, getting up from League One. I think it's just been an incredible career, really inspirational, top man. Remember, I mean, when you talk about Jimmy there, my abiding memories of Jimmy, him coming off the bench and trying to kick the fuck out of me for the last 20 minutes of a game. He couldn't run very well, and he had a pretty vast vocabulary that we shared. We had a couple of exchanges, but to hear how he's you know, you've kind of grown with a family, I guess, over these years. It's an unbelievable journey, and well done on that. I wish you all the best in the future, and once again, thanks, because I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
John, take care, pal. All the best.
Cheers.